It's late in the refinery as I record this. Been editing this episode for the last couple of hours. We're going to call it Triptych Echoes. Obviously, it's been a little while since you heard from me, and obviously the last episode, Contemplations, I got a few things out. However, we just seem to be progressing down the rabbit hole. And I've had serious questions about what I do with the podcast and whether I continue it. We were supposed to do episode 150 on 1984 by George Orwell. We just can't seem to make that work. So I don't know whether 150 is about 1984. I think we're almost, well, in some elements we are definitely living portions of that book, and it's quite scary where it leads. So maybe that's not 150. Maybe 150 is something else, and I'm not too sure what it is. As I said, I'm not too sure what to do with unlocking the code. And it's for a few reasons, yeah? Obviously, just the times that we live in are very uncertain. And there's potentially other things to focus on, not this platform. However, and look, much love to all the supporters that have reached out to me. It really means a lot, and to a man and woman for that matter, you've all told me to not stop and to keep going. So for the moment, I'm not going to commit either way. However, we set out to unlock the code here in the refinery. And with this episode, I think we have to a point. It's a big part of what it is. And it is what it is. The answer has always been the answer. You are God, we are God, I am God. Right, this is it. You are the godself. You are the eternal creator. It is within you. However, what I didn't understand is it was going to be the connection to the advanced ancient race, I believe. Okay? It makes sense. The triptych architecture echoes through all of these temples. And kudos to Richard Cassaro. I've only recently become aware of him. However, I've been delving into a lot of his work, and it's really good. He has picked up on something that no one else has. And coupled with the research that we've been doing here for the better part of 5 years, on the mic that is, the research has been going on a lot longer than that. However, it complements everything that we've spoken about here. And it is the answer. It is the key to unlocking the code. Right, I think the triptych and the megalithic and that advanced ancient race that existed once upon a time on this planet, I mean, it's in my mind, it's pretty much irrefutable. You know, we can argue about timelines and different details. However, did they exist? Yeah, its evidence is everywhere. And it echoes, this triptych architecture echoes through all those temples all over the globe, over and over and over again. And I think it was the time when science and spirituality were one. I think we see it through alchemy. I think we see it through so many things, right here to how I've set the refinery up. The triptych echoes in here are unbelievable. So I think we have unlocked the code, or at least a fair proportion of it. And I think part of that, if I'm honest, here we are, we've unlocked the code here in this humble little Aussie podcast, using Richard's work and our work and melding them together and making a fairly concise argument that it is accurate. I mean, obviously, we know nothing at the end of the day. And it's going to be overshadowed by the current situation. You know, it's like, oh, we've unlocked the code, but no one's really going to give a shit. You know? And the reality of that is a little bit difficult to deal with. You know, we're all struggling at the moment, and I have been. That's why you haven't heard from me. Right, if you understood the just sheer will and literal courage, because I was fearing turning the mic on for whatever reason, I'm not sure. However, to do this tonight and actually put this together, you know, that's a personal battle that I've had for days to get up here and do this. However, at the end of the day, you guys, the awesome listeners, deserve this episode. And look, the research never stops. So maybe we continue down this rabbit hole. And maybe on the podcast at least we ignore the current situation for the time being. That's my thoughts moving forward. However, I had one of the awesome listeners say to me that I've been the light in the dark for them. And that is the primary reason that I'm here tonight. For those awesome listeners that have been here with me, whether it be from the start or at some point along the way. Because the thing is, at times, knowing you guys are out there, you've been the light in my dark. And we just got to keep going. We just got to take each day as it comes. And prepare. That's really all we can do. This is a longer intro than normal, and I'm going to go back to old school. So I'm going to play Bathe in the Sun from Rowdy. Ever appreciated to Rowdy, and I see him playing guitar again, and I must reach out and have a chat to him. However, awesome to see him back on the guitar and plying his trade. His unique sound has been much appreciated over the years. And we might end with, I'm not sure. Wait and see. It's interesting times. I sincerely hope you get something out of this. I've listened back to part of it. Look, I'll be honest and say before I go that I had like 5 coughing fits during this episode. So it jumps around a little bit. But what's interesting about that is if you look up Megalithomania, Richard Cassaro's lecture on YouTube, which I recommend you all do, his first one, he coughs and chokes his way through it. And here I am in the refinery trying to present the same information. And that's what I do. And we say it in the podcast, and we talked about it after as well. It's like, because this triptych is a big, massive part of the answer, then maybe the information doesn't want to get out. Or maybe it's hard to speak aloud. However, I chopped it up as best I could to join it together. We had a good time with this one. It's probably some of our best work. And I love it when me and Mr. McDermott come together and focus on a topic. Because we bring it to light in a unique way, I think. Thank you very much. Regardless of what happens here at the Unlocking the Code, I'll be forever appreciative of all of you that have downloaded it, that have donated through Patreon. And, you know, I think it's been such a special thing for me that I don't think I'm going to stop. However, we might take a bit of a left turn and just get back into the research and see what we can find. Maybe be that distraction, that light in the dark. Thanks very much, guys. Look after yourselves. Be kind, be cool, stay safe, be patient, engage discipline, prepare. And we'll talk again soon. Cheers.
Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. just wanna be better, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am. Moonlit river flows by gently, like an ocean made from the earth. It is healing all of my inner bleeding, even though it's only pictures in my mind. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want to wear these bullet holes no more. I want to kill my nightmare. Don't stick those pins in the dog that looks like me. I'm burning up. 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 I'm burning. Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun.
Mate,
How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent because we have some, not fresh information, however, fresh to us and
A new perspective,
a
my
new
friend.
perspective, and also potentially the thing that ties all the things together. But before we get there, kudos to you, my brother, my fellow coder, for finding the information that we're basing it on tonight. And that was a few weeks ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a few now.
Because we've been deep in research mode for a couple of weeks on this one. We've done 1 night, 2 nights,
Yeah, 2, I think.
2 nights on this. Just discussing it and exploring it. And yeah, man, I actually had to put together a slideshow just for us, so we had some sort of semblance of order,
Yes.
because the information is that vast and that deep, and it just keeps echoing. As I said, today, I could add more to this just with the information that I picked up today.
That's the whole problem, isn't it? That's what makes this thread so juicy. Is it's a choose your own adventure in terms of where you draw the line to what you peel into this.
Yeah, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go with it? So, mate, as it's you brought this to me, and I would like you. What are we going to talk about tonight, mate? What are we talking about?
Well, mate, there was a fateful night, like you mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, where Daddy was doing a nice little rabbit hole dive and on the tube, on the YouTube, and stumbled across a little video by Richard Cassaro, and I can't remember the exact title, but let me just...
Megalithomania.
It was a megalithomania conference that he was presenting at, that they recorded. And look, I'm just going to go with Triptych Echoes.
Yeah.
Now, triptych is not a word created by Cassaro, but he's borrowed the term in terms of it was a Renaissance. It was a reference to a Renaissance style where in the paintings they would paint a larger section of the painting in the center, and then they would do 2 smaller sort of zoomed out areas on either side. So it looked like three windows, 3 panels, 3 panes sort of thing. So that's where he's borrowed the name. And then he's gone straight into his background where he first stumbled across this. And it was the three doored temple, I guess, is where he kind of started.
And look,
yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And I think a few of us, like those that are down the megalithic rabbit hole, you might have stumbled across that. And like, so it's Indonesia. The one we've got up at the moment is Indonesia, Mexico, and Egypt, right? So the step pyramids with the 3 doors into the temple. Now, I'd seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, that's an interesting correlation. But I didn't realise what it actually meant. You know, I didn't realise.
Well, that's where Richard's sort of work goes.
Yeah.
In terms of delving deeper into that. This was, as he explains in the video, and I suggest everyone go and have a look. If you just type in Triptych into YouTube, Tryptych, it'll come up. It's about the only thing that it'll be the top entry.
Do you know what's interesting?
What's that?
I've seen it the other way too. Triptych.
TRI instead of TRY.
Yeah, I've seen it both.
Yeah. Well, see, it's an older word.
Yeah, it's
so
an old word. Yeah.
The English language does what it does, and it murders things. And depending on what country or continent you're on, speaking the English language, you'll spell things differently.
That's right. And and when you say old word, I wonder how old is this word? You know, if it symbolises the essence of basically what we're going to talk about tonight. Look, I'm going to come out and say it that Richard's work, Richard Cassaro, his book's going to be on the way too. We're going to have a look at that.
Nice.
But I've got to figure out how to get the money out of Patreon. I'm going to buy his book.
Beautiful, mate. What a great use of the funds.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I figured that was a good use of the funds. So we've said here for a long time, right, that there's the symbols that echo around the globe. There's the building techniques that echo around the globe. Globe. Add that to the dictionary. However, there wasn't the joining piece.
Yeah, the smoking gun of sorts.
Yeah, and you know he's talking about a lost universal religion, which is something we've talked a lot about here. You know, was there an overarching understanding? Was there a
Well, if you delve into for a moment sort of the ancient civilization, ancient advanced culture sort of theory, there was a point, like one of the threads is that whether it's Atlantis or wherever it was, or whoever it was, that there was some kind of cataclysm, and the survivors then spread that information sort of around the world, and that's kind of why you've got, that's an explanation for why you get pyramid cultures around the world, polygonal masonry around the world, that kind of thing. A lot of symbolism that's similar, and there's no sort of real explanation for it. But I think Richard points out it was kind of the Victorian era English archaeologists and the scientists, the explorers.
Yeah, genuine explorers. Yeah,
that originally sort of came up with this quandary. Yeah, in terms of like, how is it? Why is it all connected? They noticed the pattern, but they couldn't explain as to why
what the pattern was,
as to why they were all so similar. And some of the explanations we all know from textbooks today. Yeah, sort of thing, in terms of just. It was just pot luck. You know, they're all studying the same thing, so they all created the same kind of stuff. You know, they were all sun worshipping cultures.
That's right. And it just sort of ended up the same. And But what I love, and I think the thing that echoes with me as to why this rings true, is it's so simple.
And sometimes it's the simplest way that you'll ignore in the beginning, and yet you end up coming back to it.
Because it's the opposites and the balance, mate. It's the dark and the light. It's it's the self. It's the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the right. We're going to get right into that. However,
it was a light bulb moment when
so simple,
when
man.
You could tie everything through everything that like we see in just messaging in pop culture and stuff like that. It ties that all the way back through history. Now, whether some of the symbology you see today is done on purpose or whether it's just accidental because they've been flooded with images and they've just copied them.
Well, we're going
Just
to...
like we've been flooded with
That's
images.
right. That's right. And I think there could be some sort of genetic echo as well there that we're going to discuss
Touch
a bit
on
later. However, let me read some of this, right? So, the Lost Triptych Universal Religion of the Triptych Temple, right? This is off Cassaro's website, richardcassaro.com. Check it out. We've got to give him his due for this,
Got to
right?
give him his due. So this is where he kind of started.
So the basic, so he's got examples of Mexico, Egypt, and Cambodia for stepped temples and triptych windows, right? And he's got, so there's here, the basic concept of the Maya religion and that of Mesoamerica in general is the harmony of opposites, okay? So then Egypt, the deeply rooted Egyptian tendency is to understand the world as a series of pairs of contrast balanced in unchanging equilibrium. Egyptian thought is that a totally compromises opposites, right? So that was Mercedes de la Garza in the Maya for the first one, who's at Henry Frankfurt, Kingship and the Gods. And then for Cambodia, the ability to see harmony is nowhere more prominent than Indian theology. Transcending all the pairs of opposites is central to Hindu thought. Stephen Rosen.
So those three quotes are from three separate books, and those books focus on those separate cultures and religions.
That's right. Yeah.
And they have come up that's sort of the summary. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a funky position because the writing on that screen's a little bit small for my old eyes.
Well, I do have the ability to expand, mate. Just let me know.
Please, sir, can you possibly zoometh?
We have the technology, brother. We can go
Boom.
like that.
Oh, Jesus. Wow, that's amazing.
We have the technology. But yeah, I think, and if you take that slide too, he's got Cambodia, but on the other side, we've got Indonesia as well. So so that's another one, okay?
Yeah, that Southeast Asia kind of area.
Yeah.
It's really got some good gear.
Yeah, and, when we talk about echoes, when we start having a look around, so that, we've got the Mayan temples, the triptych echoes and echoes and echoes, And look, the Mayans, something I realised too, and this is how many different rabbit holes you can spew down with this subject. We haven't done a lot on the Mayans.
No.
They probably deserve some attention, because they sort of came and went without a trace sort of thing. Yeah. And they're discovering like 100-kilometre roads and all that sort of stuff throughout South America. So it's not small stuff, like they estimate there was 100 million people in South America at the height of that empire now, which is a lot. Might not be 100. Don't quote me on that one.
It's just like all the other numbers we bring up.
That's right, exactly. There's no...
Might be right. Might not be.
Yeah, that's right. Don't quote me on any of the numbers. But then we see an echo in secret societies as well, right? So places like Skull and Bones, the Shriners, the Freemasons, which we're going to get into a lot later, and the Knights of Pythias, but I saw some more as well. I think the thing with this is that it's pretty much every secret society has some sort of triptych influence in some way, shape or form.
Yep.
However, you've got to wonder if that's an echo, like there's triptych, there's like, without knowing, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but there's multiple triptych influences in the refinery, and I didn't even plan it that way,
Well, the logo alone.
Which the logo is exactly right.
Exactly kind of the theory that we're thinking about in terms of the universal godself religion sort of thing. Yeah. So it's about the duality.
The other thing too that I didn't put in here is the 3 stars. I've seen that across Americas, Africa, Asia. Mm-hmm. The other connection I've seen that I didn't put slide in was that I did want to talk to you about was Orion.
Yep.
That could be Orion's belt across the globe as well.
Yeah.
That's something that I've seen a lot as well, So that's actually how I knew about the 3 windows, is like that it might have related to Orion.
Yep.
That was the theory that I had in my mind before you told me about this one.
Yep. No, definitely. And anything really that's, that's part of the beauty of the mystery is there's a possibility. If there's 3 things, does it relate to that? Was the Belt of Orion the original triptych image when some, ancient philosopher was thinking about this while smoking a pipe, watching sunset, and after twilight, out comes Orion's belt, and he's like, 3. It's all about 3.
Well, 3 is the magical number of the universe.
3 is magical number. It's 3 is the perfect number in terms of the good, the bad, and the path in between, the balance. It's like, makes sense. The Holy Trinity, all of the above.
Yeah, it's all about 3, right?
It's all about 3.
And look, we've got so many temples that we can see it in. Well, I don't know where we were. However, I just had an episode, right?
Coughing fit.
Yeah, coughing fit, which is fascinating because if you watch Megalithomania, one of the things you're going to notice is that Richard does the same thing. We theorised that maybe
it's almost as though the information doesn't want to get out.
But I've got soothers, so we're going to keep going. So where we were talking about Orion. Is that what we were talking about, right?
That's right. Boom. Got it.
Because what is not Orion versus Pleiades, dark versus light too? You know what I mean? I don't know which one's which. However,
yeah, exactly. That's right. It's always been.
It's always the same, right?
Yep.
It's always about the dark, the light, and where you find pieces in the balance, right? In the middle.
Exactly.
A
balance in the force. So you jumped. You sort of mentioned the big joiner there before when you brought up the Knights of Pythias and the Shriners and the Masons. And that brings us right through to sort of some of the stuff that was created in America was sort of the 1800s when the Knights of Pythias and stuff were created. But I digress, because if we jump back, before we go any further on the Masons, if we jump back to the root of it, to the root of the link to the modern world, which again, this is Cassaro's stuff, he made the connection to the Gothic cathedrals in Europe. And part of the reason for that is that the Freemason Society was the one who was tasked to build those Gothic cathedrals.
That's right.
And that's what brings us back around. Now, my friend, you've brought up a photo of the Last Supper.
Yes, mate.
The Da Vinci work.
Yeah. So I've got
now, if you listen to Dan Brown,
Da
Vinci was a
Freemason,
a Mason.
Yeah. But so I had to put a bit of notes here because I went down a bit of because I knew about the triptych, right? And you got to look at it a little bit different now too, right? So painted by Da Vinci, try to find out whether he was a Freemason. And I've actually written there, a massive hole opened up that I had to back out of. However, if anyone in history had the keys to the old library of knowledge, I think it was Da Vinci. Right? You think about some of his designs and, there's just...
He was surfing that ether.
Yeah, man. He had a hard line connected. He was in there.
Yeah, like some of those guys, they're getting downloads sort of thing. They refer to it as downloads.
But what I found interesting, so if you add the triptych into play... So the big contention for a long time is whether or not this here on the here is Mary, right? Mm-hmm. But what Kath pointed out, because she's from a religious background, is look at the colours of Jesus' cloak, dark and light.
Yep.
Right. Same with Mary, dark and light. And the feminine is the left in the triptych, isn't it? So if you add the windows, the colours of the robes, and look at the drunk blokes on the side, right? So that's the male.
Yep.
And then Mary on the left. That's Mary, right? So that is in the most iconic. Not only is it in pretty much the architecture that we saw one of our research nights was quite unbelievable, and I've got some of it coming up now. Some of the pictures we saved.
Yeah.
However, even in its most basic paintings, Da Vinci was painting the triptych. Now you've got to ask yourself, was that on purpose? Would a guy like Leonardo da Vinci not do anything on purpose? You know what I mean? Like you wonder.
Or was it automatic? In terms of did he do it, or was it automatic painting? Was it done through him? And it's a piece of knowledge trying to get out.
Well, that's one of the questions, isn't it? Right, and that's one of the speculations we're going to explore a little bit later on. But I mean, some of these, this is the look. France has the pretty much the epitome of that style, right? Their major cathedrals.
So what do you got there? You got Reims,
Notre
Notre-Dame,
Dame
and
Leon.
Laon.
Yeah.
There's Chartres as well, isn't there?
Yeah, Chartres as well.
Mentioned in a lot of the stuff.
But the triptych symbology again is the three. Okay.
The 3 doors at the bottom.
3 doors at the bottom.
But what's also involved is these 2 spires on either side.
That's right.
And if you can't see it here, but if you were to look closely at any one of those cathedrals, they're both crowned with a sun
and a moon
on one side and a moon on the other,
representing the feminine and the
the light and the dark, the contrast, the duality,
in everything,
Yeah.
This was a random one. Like, this is the sort of stuff that's coming out.
Where'd you pluck that from?
It just came up, and I don't know why there's a love heart there, but it just came up.
Wow.
But that's the Parliament building interior in Budapest.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not one of the most triptych bunches of symbology you've ever, like
100%. Well, at the end you've got the 3 arches, which create like the image of 3 triptych doors.
Yeah, you've got the triangle. You've got like all the imagery.
You've got a triangle right in the centre there. I can't see what's up in the vaults, but there's
left
above,
and right. I think there's going to be for sure. I would say so. And they're facing opposite directions as well.
And so they could possibly be a sun and moon icon.
Yeah.
And then the last piece of the puzzle that we sort of need to mention is the round window or the round iconography, usually situated directly above the middle door.
That's right. Normally depicting the flower of life, something similar to that effect.
Exactly. And the sorry, mate, you continue.
You're right. Yeah, the flower of life. And look, we see that as well. There's also the all-seeing eye, which we're going to look at a little bit later. There's some eye stuff that you see.
Well, what ties it all together is the circle. Because some places you'll only find the compass. There won't actually be a circle, but there may be the iconography of a compass.
Yeah.
Someone holding a compass,
yeah.
or something like that. And not the directional compass, the type that you draw circles with.
Yeah, that's right.
The compass and the square.
Yeah.
And that's what ties it over to the mason.
Again, right. These tools that we're looking at. So we thought we would see what Australia had as far as triptych architecture. And we were quite surprised to see how much we actually had. You've got, I can't remember what that one, that's in Melbourne somewhere, but you've got St. Mary's in Sydney. Like, that's got everything. Everything is there. The circle, the triangle at the top, the 2 spires, the 3 doors, like it is.
It's very Gothic cathedral inspired. And I mean, just to be the skirp for a moment, you always got to remember how much, because you got to remember that Australia came along a lot later, so our stuff is a lot newer, but it's built in that echo. Now, why was there a reason, or was it just a copying of the style?
Yeah, we just want our churches to look like that one. Yeah,
the architecture's beautiful, it's amazing, and there's a loss of meaning.
I would say that, if the evidence that I saw, I would say you've got to skirp it and say maybe, right? However, it's the iconography that you find inside these churches, in the stained glass and the actual interior architecture. It is very, very much an echo of that, isn't it?
Yeah. So were the Masons continuing on, because we never got to the end of that story. So the Masons were in charge of building those Gothic cathedrals up until about the 1700s, when whatever Pope was in power at that time basically ended the contract.
Yeah, they found out what they were doing.
Pretty much. How they were putting pagan iconography into Christian buildings.
Basically the triptych. They were inserting the entire building was a massive monument to triptych architecture.
Yeah. So the universal forgotten religion, really, that kind of ties all societies across the globe together.
Yeah, it does. And look, we had just so more examples of Australia there. Some older churches as well. That's All Hallows. We had a bit of a look at that. That's some interesting stuff. All Hallows is going to come back into it due to the wall that's there, because that sort of opened up a bit of a different hole for me there as well.
And that's in Queensland, yeah.
But we come to an old friend, sir.
Oh, yes, back to the Gympie.
We come to an old friend because I thought, I was up at Harvey Bay and I thought, we're going to scoot through Gympie and have a look at a few things. And where the Polygonal Masonry wall is in Gympie is a church. And obviously now with this new information, I've looked at that church through an entirely different lens. And there is definitely triptych iconography in this church.
Well, 100%. Let's start with the silhouette. It's got two spires, one on either side.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't touched on the Masonic iconography of those spires.
No. We're going to dig right into the Masons in a little while.
Yeah. Well, let's just mention it now. So in Masonic law, the two spires are from the the Temple of Solomon.
The Solomon of Temple.
The Solomon of Temple. So, and one's called Boaz, one's called Jachin. And the Jachin is the masculine or the light, the hot, the whatever other things, the opposites that it sort of stands for. And the other side is the Boaz, which is the feminine, the moon, the cold, the moist, the opposites to all those said before.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the background of another link to the cathedrals. And it's the two spires, the twin spires are echoed through different architectural styles.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see the two spires there, and I tried to get, and I could, they look like they're the same. I was trying to take different photos.
Yeah.
But it's also a little bit gothic as far as like, I didn't put the photo in, but it's like they got these, it's not a cross. You can see there. Actually, we have the ability, don't we? We have the ability. So we do that. See, it's not. I don't know what that means. They
almost look like sword hilts.
Yeah, they do. Like, it's interesting. It's not like that. That's not normal. But it didn't differ from side to side.
That's for someone who's an expert on this to tell us their interpretation of what that symbology is.
Yeah.
If there's anybody out there,
hit
us on the emails.
But the glass at Surface Hill is quite interesting because we've quite clearly got a flower or a flower of life there in both sides.
100%.
Circular. Not very big, but it's there.
Yep.
And I did notice a lot of, obviously geometry is part of it, but there is a bit of geometry in there.
Yeah.
In the side windows.
And what caught me before, I don't know if you've got it maybe in the next slide, but the very top window, it's got, in the center, it's got two panes in the center. That's it. Then two smaller ones on either side.
Yeah.
Slightly smaller.
Yeah.
Then above the two in the middle, there is a three-way, like a...
triquetra.
Triquetra.
Yeah. Which
and
is
it's echoed again by the tiny little vents right up the top.
That's right.
But that's the triptych symbology right there.
Right there, yeah. Which leads to a bit of a theory about a bit of a new theory about the wall that we're going to get into. However, the other thing that was quite interesting in Gympie was St. Patrick's, and to the point where this is Mary on the left and St. Patrick on the right.
Yep.
Like that is, and
there
then
you go.
That's as basically as clear as it gets. There's literal statues there, representing the masculine and the feminine, and she's holding a moon as well.
Is she just?
Yeah, look.
Of course she is.
Yeah, she's holding a moon.
Yep.
Or a ball, but
Yeah. Let's call it a moon.
And what's interesting is,
but again, that's so you've got the sphere, the circle.
Yeah.
What's St. Patrick got?
He's got a staff because they've always got staffs. These guys
they do.
But Mary's also standing on the serpent as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is also an interesting, and Kath actually observed that. She's like, in some St. Patrick was the one that supposedly got rid of the snakes, but in a lot of the iconography, it's Mary standing on the snake.
Gotcha.
Because that's like the knowledge. That's like, you know.
Well, it's the tempted by the serpent.
That's right. Yeah, and look, the serpent thing is also very, very interesting as well. But yeah, there's St. Patrick. He's a bit of a grumpy old bastard, isn't he? Look at him.
Quite a stoic.
Yeah.
Symbol, that one.
But he's got his staff. They've always got a staff.
Mm-hmm.
What's the staff?
You had to herd sheep in Bethlehem.
Yeah, that's obviously what it is.
Little shepherd boys.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what it was. Just like Christmas trees.
Yeah, Christmas trees. But we what we did the other night is we started having a look at the inside of some of these churches in Australia, and we were blown away by some of the, again, triptych stuff that's in these churches. I mean, you even look at the, here's the window, the glass window, right? And I thought about this. If you're looking from the outside in, Mary would be on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got all the symbology there, the triangles, the three, the whole thing. And there's the, in this
the Christ child.
Yeah, that's the Christ child. That's the perfection of.
That's the Christos.
Yeah,
the balance between the two sides,
which is an interesting perception there as far as the suppose you could say the Abrahamical religions is they took away from the godself and they made it about an external entity.
When they made it about Jesus,
yeah,
it put him on a pedestal in terms of you can't achieve that. That's the only person because it's right. God's son that can achieve that.
Yeah,
that's where Christianity, well, like you said, the Abrahamic religion somewhat bastardized that theory.
Well, it takes stepping away from
it
depersonalizes it, but also we know the answer, dude. Right? We've been doing this podcast for nearly 5 years, right?
Yeah.
We figured out in the beginning that it was about the balance. You know what I mean? It was about it was about acknowledging the darkness but embracing the light and understanding they both have to exist at the same time. And that's all the stuff that we talked about earlier.
And we'd come to that assumption based on our own sort of travels through life in terms
that's
of
right.
needing to tame the darkness.
Yeah.
Balance it out with the light.
Yeah.
That was just through personal journeys sort of thing that we come to that inference.
That's right. And turns out, and again, it's so simple. This is the whole point. It makes sense that this is what it is. And look, we see a lot of corbelled arches. I know you love your types of masonry, your corbelled arches and your polygonal and stuff. And we had a discussion about that. Is that why didn't they repeat the corbelled arches? Well, the curved arch is a better. It's an advancement of the craft, is what it is.
Exactly. The corbelled arch, you could create a curved arch out of that if you had slightly different construction techniques.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's just an advancement of the construction techniques, and it looks better. I think, we see the step pyramids, and we see like if you were able to see the Great Pyramid, or those three pyramids when they were finished, compared to a step pyramid, the difference is night and day. You know what I mean? And this is sort of what we're looking at here. Is like that's the advancement. Maybe that's a church in Australia. I'm pretty sure that might be St. Mary's. And again, the triptych iconography is just everywhere. Like it's actually quite phenomenal when you start looking at it. And
every single. It's all based on threes. Every single window has, if it doesn't have three windows, it has three
smaller windows,
or like three circle windows above it.
Yeah,
it's all everything's based around three.
Well, wasn't it Tesla that said too? If we understood 3, 6, and 9, we could, our understanding of the universe would be different.
Yeah,
isn't that it's multiples of 3? That's what we're seeing over and over and over again. And then we talked about Jesus being 3 days in the cave and stuff like that. Like it's amazing the amount the triptych echoes in the religious architecture that we saw. Just to tie that up, like it is there, and it's as plain as day. Once you know what you're looking at and you can grasp an understanding of what it actually is, and as you said, knowing what we came to just within our own selves, knowing that that's true.
Yeah.
We see it in that representation.
Yeah, and the simple way in which we came across it it seems as though, looking at this next slide, that Peru, Afghanistan, Egypt, Colombia, Bolivia, Northern America, Suma, Italy, Lebanon, and I'm only halfway through.
Yeah, China, India, Giraffe, Indonesia, Peru again, Nigeria, Spain, Iraq, Greece, Minoan, Persian, Indian, right?
They all have their own take on the same sort of symbol, which is a humanoid figure in the center, and then the humanoid figure is often holding lots of different things depending on where you are.
That's right.
Whether
But they're opposites, right? They're
opposites.
holding two staves. Sometimes it is masculine and feminine.
Sometimes it's snakes.
Sometimes it's serpents do come around a bit, don't they? And there is something to do with the serpent. It'll just depend on where you're at, but it's the same iconography. I mean, all over the place.
And it's amazing. It's all across the globe.
I don't think there's not a continent there that's not covered.
No.
So, again, why do we have that echo in our past? And it precedes the Abrahamic stuff. This is
100%.
old religion.
Yeah, well, this stuff came prehistory.
That's right.
Yeah, which possibly, if you go back through our sort of theories of the ancient mysteries, a pre-Diluvian civilization is sort of where we're heading.
Yeah.
In terms of, is it an echo of what they've left over?
Well, you would think, look, what I think this is, and again, credit to Richard. I'm going to try and get in touch with him. Hopefully he might come on and have a chat to us. This is the key. I understand why he's been trying to get this information out for so long. Because the God self is the key. It's the understanding. It is that balance. It is that self. It is that, and imagine, and I ran away with a thought process when I was doing some research. It's like, imagine if we did embrace the God self, if everybody understood that the power was within us and we could actually achieve balance and stuff like that. What could we achieve? What could be? We could probably build mega amazing pyramids,
Mm-hmm.
But it's that balance. But it'd also be the balance of science and spirituality as well, which we're going to get into a little bit. That's another thought process that is echoed as well.
Mm.
But what interestingly, I mean, as I say, you listen to this for a few times. We've been talking about this for weeks. What is your interpretation of the God self? What would you, looking at the iconography, understand the information, then your own personal interpretation? How do you see it?
Well, the way in which I figure it somewhat comes together is it's the God self is what some religions call enlightenment.
Yeah.
Or illumination.
Yeah.
When Yoda
Yeah.
When Yoda attained enlightenment, he just left that plane.
That's right.
But he was still there as a force ghost.
Yeah.
A being of pure light.
Yeah.
So it's the awakening of the third eye.
Yeah.
And it's the awakening of the third eye through the understanding of the solution.
Yeah.
And the solution is just that. It's the balance of the dualities.
And I think we've all experienced moments of that balance. I wonder if that's Zen. I wonder if that's like flow state.
Mm.
We've all experienced that in different ways at different times. I wonder whether that's what that is too. That's when you're starting to access that state. It's like you are in sync right now.
Yeah.
You're in the flow. You're in the Zen state. You have achieved that, God self balance that you can achieve.
Definitely.
No,
I know exactly what you're saying. And if it's not that, it's goddamn close.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's the closest that a illuminated person would be able to grasp.
Yeah.
That feeling of pure rhythm.
But is it not also, and again, it's the simplest things, man. They're the most profound. That's what I'm beginning to really grasp. Being in the moment. If you can truly be present within the self and within that balance and within the body, mind, soul, that is that Zen state. That is that God self. You know, if you can not be affected by the past or the present or the future, you can just be. You know, I wonder about that as well. Like, is that part of the God self? Is that, you know, because again, we've all had moments like that as well. You know, I think it's
No, I think all of the references to what you've just described, they all touch on trying to explain that.
Yeah.
In terms of the names we've given those moments.
It almost feels like we don't have the language. You know, it feels
Definitely.
like we don't have the
When-
right descriptors to actually
When-
truly express it. Because is it a word? Is it a feeling? Is it a
Well, the reason
an
we
energy,
don't
right?
reason we don't have the language for it is because we haven't focused on it. In terms of the society hasn't focused
That's
on it.
right,
We
yeah.
would have a word for it if it was a majority part of our daily thinking.
Yeah, if it was within the zeitgeist, as it were.
Exactly. That's right.
You know, and look, we're just looking at multiple icons of different versions of God self icons. What I find fascinating about this hole that we find ourselves in, and we're going to talk about maybe why we are here. You know, if you think about, we started with and we even talked about it at the beginning. We started with like a jigsaw puzzle where we only had a few pieces.
Yep.
If you think about the amount of pieces we've added to that jigsaw puzzle, and, you know, it always surprises me, and as I say, kudos to these independent researchers like ourselves. We put our time in different subjects as well, and these people are the ones that are bringing these stories out, and the knowledge that they're sharing, and, you know, just the ability to join something like this together.
Yeah.
But I imagine it was sort. I imagine, you know, it'd be interesting to ask him when Richard was on this journey. It'd be like what we did. Oh, we'll just check to see what's in Australia. 2 hours later, we were still searching stuff here, weren't we, in the refinery? You know.
No, that's right. It makes you understand the length of time these things take
Yeah.
to truly dig into.
Mm.
You know, on a greater level than a lounge chair scientist.
Yeah, that's
kind
right.
of thing.
That's right.
Yeah, man. No, it's a very deep and extensive subject matter, and that's what makes it so juicy. That's why this.
It's the points. It's the points of evidence.
It's for us, the fact that it's such a juicy new chapter to the same mystery we've been banging around
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah.
Is it the less distance between the dots to join these pieces of information together. It's the glue sort of thing.
It is the glue.
So that's what makes it so exciting. You know, is it the be all and end all? Is it the right one? I don't know, nor will we ever, because that's what makes researching the ancient mysteries so much fun, so entertaining. Is that it's a thought experiment.
Yeah.
It's a deep thought experiment where you can philosophize in your own mind and at different levels. You know, you can philosophize from an amateur level like myself, right up to a well-learned, deeply read, long-term initiate into the subject.
I think we could call ourselves rookies. I don't think we're amateurs anymore. I think we might be rookie status.
I'm not going to split hairs. there's levels and I'm many behind.
That's right. That's
sort
right.
of thing. That's all we need to
Because Unlocking the Code has always said, and we will always say, we actually don't really know.
Yeah.
You know, don't listen to us. We don't really know, but no one really knows.
That's the trick to the phrase.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it's also alluding to the fact that no one really knows, and a lot of this stuff we may never.
No.
You know, unless, like we've said before, Space Daddy comes down and explains to us
Exactly. Yeah.
the history of the
world.
prehistory of Earth.
Yeah.
We've only got glimpses.
Yeah. However, this stuff does echo, right? And
it echoes deep, and that's what makes it juicy.
Yeah. It echoes really deep. We're looking at more Heh in Egypt, saying eternity, and same thing, same iconography with the staffs either side and the sun above. And
well, see, this iconography has the circle above.
That's
which
right.
The other ones didn't, although they were in a different setup sort of thing. It would have been hard to put a circle above them is what I'm trying to say, because they were like brooches and
Yeah.
little carvings and statuettes and stuff like that.
But again, we're looking at interpretation too. You know, like it's the same idea, but it's just different interpretations as well. But overall, the iconography is very, very similar.
No, 100%.
You know,
When 90% of it is exactly the same with a slight change, it's hard to ignore that large section of the 90%.
That's right. That's right. That's it. You know, I wanted to try and say this on the podcast: Zoroastrianism.
Nice. Zoroastrianism.
Yeah, Zoroastrianism wasn't as difficult as I thought, to be perfectly honest.
You got it.
However, yeah, I haven't looked into Zoroastrianism, but I think, you know, could be worth a search. That's twice. That's weird. Like, it's odd.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
It's funny.
Mm.
It's actually hilarious that, like, you and Richard both had that presenting this information.
What is that about?
I don't know, man.
Anyway, we're back again with Zoroastrianism. I'm not too sure what's going on, but we're just going to keep moving. You mentioned the third eye. I mean, this is the thing. You know, the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
That is the, you know, that's the receiver, or the, you know, whatever it is. When you dig into esoteric spirituality, the third eye, and look, as again, there's iconography, Egyptian iconography up above your head there with the third eye. That is what we're trying to attain, you know, to see through our third eye. Maybe that's the balance, you know, maybe that's where we're going, you know, is that part of it?
Or is it just truly a gland that releases DMT, and it's pointing to the fact that
Send you to your God self.
That chemical pathway is how you get to your God self.
Yeah.
It's yeah. But even just to understand that, as in the shape of the pineal gland and the fact that it has vestigial structures from that of an eye. I believe it has a lens.
Yep.
And a bit of a retina or something there, like remnants of a retina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really weird in its design.
Yeah.
And it's part of what, when you're looking at the human origin mystery,
Yeah.
it's part of something that just adds another what.
Yeah.
You know, another what is that?
And why does that, again, echo across everything as well?
Yeah,
You know?
that's right.
Like this is an early depiction of Cyclops. He's actually got 3 eyes.
Yep.
Which I found interesting. I think that was a Greek depiction. Obviously, we got Buddha. You know, the Indians with the thing in the middle dot on their foreheads, like it again. The Egyptian.
Yep. Forehead dots.
That's Mayan, I think.
Yep.
Oh, Mexico. But again, so you know, remember we started because I'm like, hang on a minute. If this evidence is so prolific, then out of all my research that I've got, maybe I've got something.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
And we looked through my pictures.
Yep.
And we found about a dozen pictures that I've taken over the years, or memes, or, you know, research that I've collected over the years that echoed the triptych symbology and the God self. I mean, that was a bit of an interesting dot as well, you know. And so this is from an Egyptian exhibit that was in Brisbane. Me and Kath went there.
Yep.
When you could go outside. However, you know, you see the feathers and the serpent, and it's across there as well. I put this one in here because I wasn't sure. I thought we could dig into it. Is that a God self? It might not be. It could just be a high relief. You know, I don't know whether that's a God self. However,
But hold up for just a second. So there's pillars either side.
Mm.
There's a triangle in terms of the archway above his head.
Yeah. The dogs facing opposite directions, or they're
Yep.
they're facing each other. Could be.
Well, Odin has 2 wolves.
No, that's
He
right.
also has ravens.
Yep.
On each side of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again would be the masculine and the feminine.
Well, if Odin's the fucking god in the center,
Yeah.
he's got to be the god self.
That's right.
He's got to be the balance.
Yeah. You know, and that was an interesting God self one there too, with the feathers and stuff like that. That had very interesting iconography. I'd love to be able to read that. You know, I'd love to be able to know what that actually says.
Well, you should flick it off to Muhammad, get him to throw up a quick little translation
Yeah, true.
of a couple of simple ones.
True.
That'll be interesting, though. So, this next slide, when I saw this, I wanted to know who created the one on the left. Was that already edited on like Richard's site?
This is Richard. So he might have done
that's
that.
great. So he's made that connection.
Yeah.
All right, and so let me just explain what it is. It's the Gothic cathedral. What's it called? Superimposed over the top of a Masonic master's carpet.
Yeah. And
which the symbology of which the spires on either side of the cathedral line up with the Jacob and Boaz spires, which are then crowned with the sun and the moon on either side. It's just superimposing the iconography.
And the all-seeing eye, which would be the third eye up above.
Directly over the top of the rose window in the centre, which is the flower of life.
Yeah. And in the Mason stuff, you've got the pentacle and the heart and the all the iconography is right there.
The square, the compass.
And look, we're going to have we got a bit of a sneak peek look into something a little bit special very shortly.
Yep.
But is it look? We talked about this years ago, where we were like, surely the Freemasons are the remnants of the builder culture. Once upon a time, we had that. I don't even know if that's on record. I think that might have been a conversation that me and you had.
Yeah, we spoke about it the other day. It's one of those vague memories. It's like, but it's the idea that is echoed through as well.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So it's like we never really bookmarked the moment.
No.
But it's just the underlying sort of bias that we tend to put on things.
Because it makes sense, right? An order devoted to Masonic architecture that built all the churches and...
Well, just the fact that the Freemasons are stonemasons in terms of building.
Yeah.
And the fact that we call, the ancient advanced civilization the builder culture. Yeah. Because they were famous for building stone things because stone lasts the test of time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what these monuments have done. Yeah. That's why...
And all these monuments are an echo or a tribute to Triptych architecture.
That's right. And the older stuff is built better than the newer stuff.
That's right.
And everything else we've always spoken about. So, yeah, it's the connections between the old Masonry and the Freemasons. Yeah. Like we stated 20 minutes ago, it was strange how simple it was.
And we said, oh, yeah, maybe, and then just sort of let it go. But hang on a minute. No, maybe they were.
And if not the descendants of, were they possibly the disciples, the original disciples that took on the oath to
preserve the knowledge
and extend it onto their initiates.
And look, the interesting thing, and that Richard did talk about this, is that he went around to talk to Masons to try and, he thought they were some keeper of some esoteric knowledge.
Yes.
However, they weren't really. They know how to repeat words and phrases, and we can take interpretations out of that. However, at least at the
true meaning of their reason for being, he felt was lost.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the structure.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all done for a reason. Maybe you are kept on the outside. That's why it's all done in degrees. And maybe the reason they keep the secret information so secret is possibly because it's so simple.
Yeah, that's right.
You're led through all these ciphers and puzzles and complications.
Yeah.
When really it's so simple.
Yeah.
And that's the enlightenment.
That's the enlightenment, to realise how simple it truly is.
And that you were the godself the whole time. Now, what do you got there, my friend? You've pulled out a bit of paper.
I put out a bit of paper.
What do you got?
Well, I got my granddad left me some of his mason stuff.
Oh, yes.
And you can see there he is, right? I just thought I'd look because he was the original gravel grinder, mate.
He was, mate. Check out that fucking Malvern star he's got there. Or whatever.
Whatever it is.
It's probably imported from the UK, to be honest.
Yeah, it probably is.
Malvern Star may not have existed at that point in time when he was shredding those streets.
Yeah. Yeah. And
but, mate, that any true gravel rider right now would be proud to be riding that puppy.
That's right. That's right.
Some solid 1930s geometry.
Yeah. But yeah, he was good, man. He as you can see, he won a fair bit. But anyway, he was a mason. He was a third-degree mason.
Yep.
And I've got some of his stuff. And look, we've bandied this around for a while, whether or not we decide to read this on the podcast. However, we've decided that we're going to. I'm reading a lecturette, but it's for private circulation only, so we probably shouldn't have it, but we do.
Yeah, but, we play copyrighted things on buses and stuff like that, so it's all the same.
But it's from 1948.
Only the names have changed.
Yeah. But it's from 1948.
Right. Yes.
And it's the Hiram Legend. So where did the Masons come from?
Yep.
So the Hiram Legend, owing to the fact that there is no mention in the VSL, and see, this is the thing with all these Masonic documents. There's all these initials that we don't have. Okay, respecting the death of HAB, that's Hiram, the tradition, which we refer to as the legend of the third degree, has become somewhat doubted and discounted. But the absence of any record of any such occurrence is no basis upon which to set up a conclusive denial that the event ever took place. It must be remembered that the VSL, or that portion of it known as the OT, is essentially Jewish, recording the history and gradual development of the moral and religious character and life of that race. The death of HAB, though most lamentable and regrettable in itself, played no part in the national history of the Jews, and so far as they were concerned, he was but one of perhaps several Tyrian architects. Okay, going to stop there for a second, because the city of Tyre is in Lebanon. Baalbek.
Isn't that the one near Baalbek? I was going to say. Yeah.
Baalbek is in Lebanon.
Yep.
The amount of megalithic.
Well, that's the home of the megalith.
Let's just say massive fucking blocks.
Yeah.
Is in Lebanon.
Yep.
Okay, so that, and I looked into Tyre, like that's another rabbit hole that just went whoosh, and I went, hang on, can't get in down there.
Yep.
Right, but yeah, the city of Tyre is in Lebanon.
Yep.
Perhaps several Tyrian architects engaged upon the erection of the temple, and without doubt there must have been many many sad and unforeseen events which interrupted the work and affected the lives of vast numbers of workmen enjoyed during the 20 years. King Solomon was building at Jerusalem, but on these also the VSL is silent. Suffice to say that any traditional death of HAB has been handed down for many centuries, and not only was it known to the Masonic guilds of operative Masons in medieval times, but a token belonging to one of the Masons' bodies of the 14th century is still preserved and depicts the unmistakable representation of the tragic death of HAB. Tradition informs us that consequent upon the death of HAB, who was the most revered and esteemed man, as well as being a skillful and clever architect, his name and the circumstances surrounding his murder, which occurred before the completion of the temple, were substituted by the Jewish members of the fraternity for the legend of Bacchus. And Bacchus, do you also remember that Bacchus is what Baalbek is actually called, mate? That is the Temple of Bacchus.
Yeah.
So again, the biggest blocks in the world are found at the supposed Roman Temple of Bacchus or Dionysus.
Mm-hmm.
And has ever since been preserved in Masonic mysteries as the legend of the craft. So they're attaching Bacchus to the legend of stonemasonry, and the Temple of Bacchus has got the biggest blocks the world actually has ever seen.
Wow. If you thought to have claim to that, that'd be a pretty fucking, you're like, fuck yeah, we built that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't say they built it, but that's just the connections, the esoteric connections that go back there.
I'm hearing you.
And so I haven't highlighted all this, right? But this is another. It may seem strange that a Tyrian architect should be made the hero of a legend based upon a circumstance connected with the erection of the temple at Jerusalem, And peculiar it may seem too that King Solomon should have looked to Tyre for assistance in supplying him with not only with materials, but also with skilled workmen, builders, and architects. But Tyre was much in advance of Israel in regard to architectural science. I wonder about Israel, right? I wonder, because this is 1948. Did Israel exist before 1948? Didn't they only exist at the end of World War II?
No. They were pushed out by Palestine.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
That's
they
where
have the
that's where it
thing
comes
now.
from. Okay.
Exactly.
It was the home of a society of builders. This is Tyre. But Tyre was much in advance of Israel in regard to architectural science. It was the home of a society of builders to which it was exclusively confined the privilege of erecting temples and public buildings within the Tyrian kingdom. The society was known as the Fraternity of Diocletian Architects. So that is theoretically, if the origin of the Masons is the Temple of Solomon, then they used to be the Fraternity of Dionysian Architects.
From Tyre.
In
Lebanon.
Yeah. Linked together by the secret ties of the Dionysian mysteries, into which all the members had to be initiated. So all members of Masons have to be initiated into the Dionysian mysteries.
Right.
These mysteries had been introduced into Tyre, most probably from Greece, and contained a peculiar legend referring to the murder of Bacchus, there he is again, by the Titans and his subsequent restoration to life. Bet you he was passed out for 3 days. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon you're spot on.
The existence of this order in Tyre at the time of the building of the temple is universally admitted, and H.E.B., the skillful architect, was doubtless a member of the fraternity. As Dr. Mackey states, we are scarcely claiming too much for our order when we suppose that the Dionysians were sent by Hiram, king of Tyre, to assist King Solomon in the constructions of the house he was about to dedicate to Jehovah, and they were communicated into their Jewish fellow labourers a knowledge of the advantage of their fraternity and invited them to a participation in its mysteries and privileges. So that there is pretty much the origins of the Masons.
Gotcha.
And we've got a little asterisk here against Bacchus. Bacchus or Dionysus, the Roman Bacchus is identical with the Greek Dionysus. You're right. This is
amazing.
This is a weird night.
Sure, it's not full moon tonight.
No,
Shit's just going nuts.
it is. Anyway, where were we? In the mysteries, Dionysus is identified with Osiris and is regarded as the sun. His mysteries prevailed in Greece, Rome, and Asia, and were celebrated by the Dionysiac artificers, those builders who united with the Jews in the construction of King Solomon's temple. Hence, all of the mysteries, they are the most interesting to the Masonic student. So did we just say that in the mysteries, let me say that again. In the mysteries, Dionysus is identified with Osiris, Egypt, and is regarded as the sun, masculine. His mysteries prevailed in Greece, Rome, and Asia. Did we just not see representations of the triptych in Greece, Rome, and Asia?
100%.
And were celebrated by the Dionysiac artificers, those builders who united with the Jews in the construction of King Solomon's temples. Those builders. Dude.
So are the Jews not God's people? Do they not come from the Holy Land? Now, if we're talking about God for a moment, are we talking about the godself?
Yes.
Or the gods that passed on the information?
Well, see, it's interesting that they reference Bacchus because Bacchus was one of many gods. Like he's the god of wine, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, Dionysus was.
Yeah, Dionysus and Bacchus are the god of wine. I think that's quite interesting, right? Look, we've got some more stuff here, but I don't think we might leave that for tonight.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's quite a lot, and
And you don't know. We never know how much it's going to tie in. We could just go into a big, unexpected reading segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Look, I think the
100%.
Hiram Legend is where it's at, because the other stuff I've got here is like an initiation.
Yep.
Right, where I don't think this is the time to go through an initiation.
No.
I think we can look at it another time.
Yep.
But it is quite interesting. But anyway, thanks, Grandad. Hope you're all right, mate, wherever you are. I'm sure he's causing mischief somewhere.
100%.
If it totally is. He totally is. But we move out of the legend of the Masons to, again, an old friend. An old friend that we've already discussed quite a lot about. And it is the wall. The wall at Gympie.
The Polygonal Masonry wall.
Yeah. So I went back there again with a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Wasn't trying to tie it to any of the previous stuff we were trying to tie it to. That's been built for that site.
Yep.
Right. The entranceway, like this wall here, that's, that might have been the entrance to something, maybe. All right. However, I wonder, when you look at the masonry in Gympie, the amount of stone walls that are in Gympie, the echoes that we saw in the churches. Anyway, back to it. This wall was built for that site, or it was a very similar site. What if it was a master mason at the height of his craft, because of all the different types of masonry you see in Gympie, the churches, all that sort of stuff? What if it's an old school mason who knew the secrets of polygonal masonry because they were the builder culture, and it was just plying his craft?
It's highly possible. Well, let's look at Australia and the chronological order. Well, Australia's full of immigrants. Like, that's what we were founded on, was criminals and immigrants. So to be able to pull someone in, it's going to be tradespeople that are going to get employed.
Yeah.
Or going to get the pass.
Yeah.
So no, I like where you're going with that idea in terms of a illuminated master.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That was holding on to secrets of.
And look, when did you say when did the church turn against the Masons? What was that?
1700s.
Yeah, well, 1788, Australia, right? There's a brave new world out there.
Yep.
What if a few master masons escaped to Australia?
Yeah.
And decided to ply their craft, which is why we see so much triptych architecture down under. Does that not make sense?
Well, you think about the Masonic stuff that's all in America. It's all because it came from England in the first place. Prior to England, we had it all through Europe as well, because it all came out of the Holy Land with the Templars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that not, we're talking about 1700s, it's not a long string to draw, or a long bow to draw, should I say, to say that, the Masons got their own ship and said, stuff it, we're going to Australia.
Well, look at all the other strings that it's believed that the Masons can pull. What's to think that an order that may hold such high regard wouldn't be able to send diplomats or representatives to be amongst the building of the new society.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I don't know what. I can tell you a little story about Grandad.
Yep.
My dad says, and I saw it as well, as far as he understands it, Grandad never paid for a car.
Yep.
Right? A new car would rock up and the old car would go away.
Yep.
And that's what happened.
Yep.
Always Holdens, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a Holden man, had the Kingswood and the panel van, and then he had the Commodore, and he finished with a VN, the original VN.
Yep.
And one car would go away and a new car would rock up.
Would turn up.
Yeah.
And there's, and you see it throughout lots of different things, it's mates helping mates.
That's right.
Sort of thing. So, and that's happened throughout society, throughout history, wherever we look.
But is there not a purity in that as well? Is that not seeing the brother in everyone and helping people out? Like, I think the Masonic stuff has been twisted, and I think with knowledge and power, unfortunately, comes greed with man. I think that's one of the major issues that we're facing right now.
Well, and not only that, but when we're talking before about Richard's dissolution when he went to the Masonic Grand Lodge in New York looking for esoteric masters and just found a lot of questions, really. We look at modern day movements and how easily they can be hijacked in terms of like wokeism and stuff like that.
Yeah, one strong personality can
completely steer something.
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking at a history so deep and vast, obviously that's why I feel like these secret societies have all these different levels and stuff, trying to secure the purity of the information, secure the purity of the line.
Yeah.
As best it can, protect itself from the human condition in terms of steering things. Just like, what did we mention the other day? Now his name's just blanked on me. The Golden Dawn.
Oh yeah, Crowley.
Yeah. Crowley and the Golden Dawn. So the Golden Dawn's another.
Well, he took that over. I mean, that was a bit of a purer society than it.
Exactly.
Before he came, then when after he left.
Well, it was based on alchemy and the like.
Yeah, we're going to get to alchemy very shortly.
But it was somewhat a secret society founded on alchemy, and he brought his interpretation of alchemy and his focus on the things that he liked, and steered the Golden Dawn into a direction where they had not previously gone.
That's right. A darker direction, realistically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Upset the balance.
Yeah. But further to the Masonic theory and like a group of Master Masons in the southeast Queensland area, we got the church at St. Patrick's at Gympie, and then we went, because we were investigating the wall at All Hallows.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I saw the church at Gympie that I went, does that look familiar? It's exactly the same style, but it's polygonal, but not quite. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So the blocks are a lot more uniform, and yet there's still a pattern to the fact that there's multiple different sizes and shapes.
Yeah, layers and angles and stuff, but there's a lot of straight lines, right?
Yeah.
There's not the curved masonry that you find in the different odd shapes.
Yeah, the round the corner odd shapes and the interlocking for no apparent reason.
That's right.
Just like as in a low-key flex, really. It's like, we did it because we could, because that's the level of mastery that we had.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
right. See that tiny little stone in the middle? That's actually the thing that's holding everything together.
Yeah, that's right. Without that, the whole thing crumbles. That's what gives it its integrity.
But, the masonry in these churches and that wall is still very impressive. And, as you say, polygonal but not. Are we looking at evolution of technique, or is it a time thing? You could go polygonal, but we thought we'd just give it a bit of style and flair with different shapes, but not curve the blocks.
It echoes the essential style.
Yeah.
Whereas it molds it into being more efficient with modern techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, and a little bit in a way that when you look at the builder culture architecture, what we were saying before about the fact that the older stuff is the more precise and the larger and more impressive.
Yeah.
The newer stuff tries to pay homage.
Yeah, but doesn't quite get there.
Doesn't quite get there. Doesn't quite do it the same respect.
Yeah.
And that's somewhat what it echoes it. It makes us go, that looks like polygonal masonry.
That's right, yeah.
But there's certain functions, certain key points that it's sort of missing. So it gives the impression of, it's like a veneer. It gives the impression of real timber.
But it's not quite.
But it's only a shallow form of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, is it there just to say, hey, we are continuing the tradition? Is that what it's all about? It's like, we're doing the best we can with what we've got.
That's right.
We're not the masters of old, but we're echoing on the thought, the universal.
Yeah, we're using the lessons that we understand. You know, and so again, a lot of this stuff's got more legs, and I think the Master Freemason thing in Australia's definitely got legs. However, we had to sort of back out of it. You know, like how deep do you go? I think this is more about the triptych. This is more about that God self. But I couldn't help but squirrel down just a tight little rabbit hole. Yeah, a small little rabbit hole, because these pictures came across my feed, and they're on the page, and it's basically Peru. I think it's Sacsayhuaman, I would say, and because we did Megalithomania. And I'm building a slideshow again. I'm like, hang on a minute. The same marks that are in the polygonal masonry, the impressive stuff in Peru, are the same marks that are in the unfinished obelisk in Egypt. That's the same tool.
The scoop marks.
The scoop marks.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that's the same tool. It's the same technology.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like the hot knife in butter.
That's right.
Sort of. That's the impression it gives you.
Yeah.
Like it was able to scoop out chunks.
Yeah, just basically melt granite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you try and explain chisels doing that, it's weird that you would work to that sort of pattern in terms of those. No, that's right. Your chisel's not going to be as big as one of those scoops.
No.
So how did you achieve that over and over again? That repeated scooped pattern.
But it's exactly the same.
They are.
It's the same technology.
You are correct.
And I never put those two together.
Yep.
Until this research. And I was like, hang on a minute. Boom. Like that is, I don't know. I still think vibration, sound, energy, something or other.
All of the above.
All of the above. However, it's the same technology.
Yeah.
Across the two major continents.
Different areas of the world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just another link.
And it got to me thinking. So dark, light, God self, right? Science and spirituality. Because another idea that we've thrown around here is that the megalithic architecture, the temple building and the function, but also the mathematics that's wound into it and everything else like that. That is science and spirituality coming together as one.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, you quote Tesla. It's like, you know, I think he said something like, you know, the sooner that man focuses on things that he can't see, you know, will advance technology more in 10 years than we have in 100 sort of thing. That's another dark versus light thing.
Yeah.
But what happened was because I like alchemy. I'm curious, right? I used to make potions when I was a kid. Most of them blew up. It's a bit weird how many of them caught fire, but
when you're mixing chlorine and brake fluid,
that's right.
What more do you expect?
That's right. Yeah. Well, you know, we did put a wheelie bin into orbit. Actually, I'll tell that story because it is alchemy. It is alchemy. So, year 12, Nhulunbuy, Northern Territory. We decide that we're going to blow up a garbage bin. You know, the big roller bins you'd find at a high school. The big, not as like big, the bigger version of what we use as our household bins.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had some brake fluid, and we got the big chlorine tablets. And it was a full operation, man. We'd already pre-taped the lid with gaffer tape, right, on all sides. And everyone had their own job. So I think it was 4 litres of brake fluid, I think, or it could have been 8. It was 2 bottles. It was 8 litres of brake fluid. And then, I think it was, I think it might have been 8 of those chlorine tablets as well that you have for a pool. And everybody had their job. And we put the brake fluid in, put the chlorine in, taped the lid, and then just legged it, right? And we're on the high school oval. It was like a Sunday afternoon.
Of course. A lot of good things used to happen on school ovals back in the day.
Yeah.
Before people kept breaking into friggin' schools all
that's
the
right.
time.
Yeah, we didn't break anything. We just went and had some fun on the oval.
No, that's it. The oval was free to use.
Yeah.
For golf, for kicking the footy, for
whatever it
wanted.
was. Yeah. For launching
bins.
Well, we thought it was going to explode, right?
Yeah.
And we ran back about, 50, 60 meters, and the thing started to vibrate.
Yeah.
And then it just took off.
Yeah.
It just went, pretty much straight up to the point where couldn't really see it.
Yep.
Like we don't really. To this day, I couldn't. I saw it take off. I saw it go up, and it sort of. I don't know where it went. Right.
Yep.
And we're all sitting there, shocked. Like that was not the plan. You know, we thought maybe, you know, we'd have to clean up a bin
few different
or
pieces.
Yeah. We thought it'd explode.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? So we went and grabbed a bin, flipped it over. Those bins are molded from the bottom, from the top up. Mm-hmm. The mold finishes at the end on the bottom.
On the bottom.
So that's the thinnest bit of plastic is where they
weak spot.
Perfect weak spot,
Jet
and it's
nozzle.
just a jet nozzle. It's just channeled into that. It just took off.
That's awesome.
But,
so yeah, by taping shut the lid,
yeah,
you've caused a compression chamber.
That's right.
Yeah,
and it's forced its way out the
and through the combination of the two chemicals because they get hot.
Yeah,
when you combine those two.
Yeah.
It would have melted that weak spot out of the bottom,
and then just
built up the gas
and the pressure, and just So we had to monitor the local paper for a couple of days.
It's one of those things you'd never be able to do again.
No, it was not the plan.
You'd never recreate
never
it.
be able to
It's
recreate
just
it.
a perfect coincidence.
It would have to be that bin too. That bin would have to have a specific weak spot. You know what I mean? Like, we had to monitor the papers for a couple of days because, you know, in case anyone got taken out by a flying bin.
What goes up must come down.
That's right.
Where the hell did that go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is alchemy, okay? We're talking about combining chemicals and messing around with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And before we'd even started this Cassaro stuff, I'd already joined these alchemy pages because I find it interesting, you know?
Yeah.
But then now with the different set of knowledge, with the triptych, with the godself, with the understanding, what we see...
The symbology.
The
alchemistic symbology starts to take on a new light.
Yeah. Because, I mean, here we go. We've got an alchemy board here. And what have we got? We've got the sun and the moon. We've got the eye. We've got the six-pointed star, which is another one of those symbols that echoes and echoes and echoes. Some of this symbology we're going to see a lot as well, right? You know, those symbols echo the 32 symbols that are common around the globe. You know, we always see that stuff.
The serpents.
Yep.
The serpents holding each other's tail, forming a circle.
And look,
which a circle represents eternity because it never starts, never ends.
He's not one masculine and one feminine.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You got the devil and the god. You know, like all this stuff, and that sort of looks like a bit of a circuit board. Like
that definitely looks like a circuit board.
Yeah.
Which actually is funny because it brings me back to when you were mentioning Tesla before, and you're talking about if we focus on that which we can't see, well, we can't see data.
No.
What if he was referring to like that which we can't see in terms of
it's the energy in the sky, man. It's the ether, dude.
No, but simplify it back. What if that's not what it was? What if it's the cell and the molecule and the atom? That which we can't see.
Yeah. Which
that he was referring to. Like it could be it's more open-ended. The more you think into it, the more open-ended of a statement it actually could possibly be.
But see, Tesla also talked about vibration and frequency as well.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and if the only thing that's going to do that to granite, which is 6.5 on a scale of hardness, is vibration and frequency.
Oh, yeah.
You're matching
definitely.
the vibration and frequency of the stone and you're melting it, basically. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean?
No, that's right. Everything has its melting point.
Yeah. But I think alchemy is the echo. I wonder, right? I wonder whether alchemy is the echo of the true science. We just don't know how to understand it.
Yep.
You know, look at the alchemical table of symbols, man. Do you recognize any of those? You've seen those before. Maybe not as exact as that.
Well, what's weird is that the period of the alchemical table of symbols looks a lot like the periodic table of elements.
Absolutely.
The way in which it's shaped, even just the silhouette of it.
Well, it is. You know, I think this was the original elements, and I wonder. You know, the more I think about it, is this the key? Is this, there's your elements, your triangle. You know what I mean? Like, and these symbols are echoed in cave art. You know, like, There you go. That's Australia's Stonehenge right there, mate. There's the medicine wheel.
Yep.
Like we're talking about symbols that echo and echo and echo across time. And a lot of them are represented in this alchemical table of symbols. And I went, holy crap, I recognise some of those symbols. We've seen those before. In the cave art, in the megalithic architecture, and all the things that we've studied here over the years, we've seen that stuff.
Yeah.
So is alchemy, what if true alchemy is the old way, right? What if that is the science and spirituality?
Yep.
Because you're understanding the elements, you're understanding the vibration and the frequency, you're understanding the spiritual side of nature.
What if alchemy is some of the escaped old knowledge from the societies trying to pass on the knowledge of the universal?
That was my question.
Yeah. Like, what if that is the case?
Yeah.
Like, if you understand the human condition and the fact that, people leave, people talk, people share information. What if this is just a separate thread of the same information, just with the veil of secrecy lifted? Like, it's still esoteric.
Yeah.
It was always looked upon. It was always the duality of the church.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was seen to be hereticism. It was pagan sort of followings and beliefs, and tied to alchemy is your angels and demons and
it's science and spirituality.
Yeah, that's right.
I just had like this ran away in a bit of a process listening to. It's like some dude was in an old library and he falls over and grabs a book and pulls it back, and then a thing folds over, and here's this book, and it's a book of alchemy, and he's just trying to interpret it. Like he's got no knowledge of what it is, but he knows what air and water and air, you know what I mean? Like fire and earth, like you can sort of pass it out. But without the, without the cipher, without the code.
You need the key to unlock it.
To unlock it. You don't know what it is. What if it is? What if true alchemy is the old way? That is the echo of the technology.
Yeah.
That is what we're talking about here, and I think I want to dig more into alchemy. I'm gonna spend a bit more time down that rabbit hole and see what can come out of it.
100%. That's a really cool portion of the mysteries. Plus, there was a lot of alchemists in recent history time. In terms of like the 1500s.
That's right.
So there's good diaries and stuff, good information to really dig your teeth into.
Well, the thing is too is that there is some of that stuff we did find at Gympie was that the preparation stone where it looks like they've prepared the stuff that melts the stone. That's alchemy. That's using whatever they had around them.
Yeah. In
order to prepare what happened to that. Those stones there. So
yeah. Well, alchemy is changing the molecular structure of lead to create gold.
That's the key, but it's
if you extrapolate that essence,
I think is that not our obsession with gold? Is that not the 15th century interpretation? Oh, I'm just trying to create gold. Well, no, that's what I'm telling you, but I'm actually trying to unlock the secrets of the universe from this magic book that I found.
But if you could turn lead into gold, again on just one of the many thousands of threads, wasn't one of the initial reasons, like one of the initial stories for why we were possibly seeded.
It was for gold.
Is for mining gold to repair an atmosphere somewhere in this universe.
Yeah.
So it's funny that gold is so precious, and
look, our obsession with
that
gold
we're
is
obsessed
interesting.
with trying to make more of it. It's such a rare element.
Gold is an interesting. Our obsession with gold is fascinating. That's not for tonight, but it's. I think I've said before. I've watched a gold bar being poured, and like I don't mind men's jewelry, but I don't wear gold. I don't like gold.
Yeah.
But watching that gold bar being poured was like, my precious. It's like if I, that's like $750,000 right there. In that gold. You know what I mean? Like there's something.
But I think part of its property is the fact that it's so inert.
Yes.
It doesn't change.
Doesn't do anything.
It doesn't oxidize.
No.
It's because you can you can make many other elements, metals, alloys as brilliant, but they all degrade.
corrode, yeah.
Gold does not.
Yeah. Gold is the constant.
There, gold is a constant, exactly. In a world of flux and balance and dualities and opposites, gold is the constant.
Yeah. But it is always the balance, mate. Echo upon echo, dark and light, good versus evil, and on it just goes on and on and on. This is the whole point about this, is that I had to back out of it. It's like, how many hours do we spend talking about this, just repeating ourselves over and over again? You know, the yin and the yang, you know, and the yin and the yang represents the sun and the moon.
That's right.
You know?
And that comes, again, it represents duality.
Duality.
And now we've moved to a slightly different section of the earth in terms of higher up in Asia.
Yeah.
So it just goes to demonstrate the spread of this thinking of the universal God self, because a lot of the time we forget that in the image of the yin and the yang, there's actually three things depicted.
That's right.
Because there's the light and the dark, but then around the outside there's a circle.
That's right.
That represents the constant and the balance.
And the dots in the middle is everything's a part of everything else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that's the balance as well. You must have all sides of self in alignment.
That's right.
At all times. You know. You know, and look, we're nearing the end of this interesting podcast. Just from what's been going on. However, we couldn't leave without talking about the Force.
No, well, I've been trying to touch on it.
Yeah, you mentioned Yoda a couple of times.
Pieces all night, but no, it's like we were talking about when we were saying the way in which we've put decorations up around the refinery.
Well, the thing about the refinery is that it's intentional, right?
Yeah,
it's intentional to what I've done here, but I did it not knowing what I was doing. But the triptych is everywhere.
You designed it with your subconscious, in terms of as you were setting up displays of things. Yeah, you didn't realize the balance, the triptych architecture of your subconscious.
But what's interesting is that I designed it using the stuff that I've got here as a representation of all the different stuff around the planet. And all it's done is echo triptych through the whole room.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's almost like it's like the zero entropy state.
Yeah.
Right? When you get chaos and things degrade, systems degrade, it's like they finish up in that state. It's the final state.
It's the final state.
Yeah.
And if the refinery is where all good ideas come to be refined, where we're trying to unlock the code to life, we've been surrounded by it the whole bloody time.
Yeah. Well, and like we were saying before about the design of the logo.
Oh, that's crazy.
The warrior scholar.
Yeah.
And then it's in a circle.
Yeah.
That it just all came together.
And that was me and you here one night. You know, and that was when we used to have your armor and stuff. It was very much a warrior scholar vibe. That's where that came from. Right? And I've sort of switched up with it. Well, it's evolved now, right? If you think about the triptych and making towards godself, Refinery version 2 is that evolution.
Well, have you ever noticed your three cabinets?
Yeah, I know. I noticed that.
These could almost be spires.
Yeah.
On one side. I hadn't even thought about it till you were mentioning the very warrior-orientated armor that we had, but it was all on this side.
But think about what's in there. Like my crystals and stuff are in there. That is probably a more feminine. What do we got here? We got fighter jets and cars and...
Yeah.
And I didn't
do that on purpose.
I didn't do that on purpose.
No.
Right? Even look at the bookcase there. You've got the weather and look at the moon there on top of the jar.
I see it.
And then I've got the fighter jet and the ammunition and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like
sitting over on that side.
The left and the right.
Yeah, the duality.
The duality.
Everything
it's everywhere.
Balanced.
It is everywhere, man. And it's like, you know, what I wrote here was George Lucas telling the eternal story. And I think that's where we need to drill down on the eternal story, right? Through a genetic echo, right? Because again, I did this in the refinery, not knowing at all, but here it is over and over again.
Yeah.
is that a genetic echo? Is that a DNA memory, right? And I wrote this here, and I want your answer with this, right? Why do some of us feel the pull of these mysteries? Is that a genetic echo? Do we have a memory of the time before? You know, were we stonemasons in a past life, or were we part of that esoteric knowledge that we know it's within us, and we, you know?
Well, and in that one sentence, you've blended the two sides of the possibilities as to what it could be. You've got genetic memory on one hand, and you've got past lives on the other.
Yeah.
Now, both of those are highly possible as to things echoing down through the time. Like, I guess the only thing that changes between them is the fact that it's DNA being passed from one meat wagon to the next.
That's right.
Or it's the soul that's passing on the information.
That's right. Yeah.
Through the reincarnation of that same soul time and time again.
Yeah.
The memories, I guess, are just the data.
That's right.
It's just how the data got to the modern
where
world.
It is. Yeah. And again, we don't know.
How did the data get here?
Yeah, we don't know.
No one knows. But it's just it's again, the beauty of the ancient mysteries is wading through your own grey matter. You know, just wading through those pockets that exist inside your brain and conducting these thought experiments on yourself and delving back through the data that you've taken into your subconscious and then trying to work out where that came from. You know, it's kind of like when you've mastered something to a point where you're very good at a skill, but you've never taught anyone. You haven't yet truly mastered it.
No, definitely not.
Because you may be able to do it autonomously, but you haven't analysed it to be able to tell someone else how to do that.
That's why I've always look. I mean, obviously, I'm a teacher these days. However, that those that can't do teach. I don't think that's true. I think teaching is a calling.
I think but in terms of a learning process, if you think of purely like the whole
time
imitation, just levels of mastery.
Yeah,
I feel like if you cannot teach, there is a level of mastery you've never attained.
Yeah, you can't understand that.
That's right.
Yeah,
because you're not consciously delving into the dark corners as to why you do things.
That's right.
Like,
and you're not having people tell you and ask you why.
Yeah. Like years ago, I couldn't tell you, I still struggle to, but I struggle to tell you what the levers on an excavator do.
Right. But when you get in there, it's autonomous. I don't think about it. Yeah.
Like, I would have been better telling you what each lever does when I very first started, because I had to consciously think about what all the actions did.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's all stored in my memory, in my subconscious, in muscle memory. So I do it automatically. And then the next level beyond that was then being able to teach someone how to do it all from a green skin beginner.
Right. Yeah.
That took a next level of mastery.
That's right.
Because the interface that you're communicating is the nervous pathways from the brain to the muscles. So you have to then put that information into words to then communicate it.
That's true.
It's used to flowing these very efficient electrical nervous pathways in the body. Well, that pathway gets intersected by a frontal lobe and a voice box. And it now needs to create sentences to explain what it's been passing back and forth between the brain and the muscles.
But is that... You kept saying the word mastery, and we actually didn't talk about this part of the Masonic tradition. However, the fact that, you start out as a piece of rough stone, you learn, you grow, and you become a smooth stone. But by the time you're a smooth stone, you're in place. That's your age. There's your mastery.
Yeah.
And that is actually when you give back, because you've achieved your mastery. Your job now is, before you pass, to pass on what you know. And is that not, again, the contrast of life, right? You know?
Yeah.
You know, that's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it's here in the middle where we are now that we must achieve our mastery, find that balance in order for us to advance to our old age, you know? And, yeah, man, the teaching analogy is good because obviously that's something that I'm, you know, deep into.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have actually, at times, used my students as guinea pigs for our knowledge.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
That's the beauty of being in charge of a group of people.
Mm.
You know, I do it on offsiders from time to time.
Yeah, that's right.
They can't escape me. They have to listen to what I say.
Well,
so allow me to experiment upon thee.
Yeah, well, I just used to say, you sick of learning about logistics? Who wants to hear about pyramids for the afternoon?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of time.
But, man, how do we end this? I don't know how we end it. I mean, I've been searching for, like, it's so profound. And look, it's been a bit of a journey, this one. It's so simple yet so profound. We all know. Everybody knows. The answer is the answer, man. It's not, there's no, it is the balance. It is understanding the dark and the light, and that they always exist. They always will exist inside you and inside everybody inside the world. However, if we acknowledge that,
what do we do with that?
What do we do with that? And how do we? Well, I mean, you know, we try and achieve that as best we can every day, don't we? You know, we try and make sure that we are, you know, good people, and you know, we keep the demons at bay.
Well, and maybe that is
that it?
That is the answer. Like we're talking about the fact that
it's so simple.
It's all echoing being so simple.
Yeah.
And yet we're trying to conflate it into something more complicated.
So is the answer just try and be your God self? That's all you can do, right?
That's right.
Understand and acknowledge the truth that you know inside you. Because isn't that it? You know, at the start of this, we came up with this because it was the truth we found inside us.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think Richard's work echoed with us so much.
Yeah.
It's because we're like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course that's it. How do we
miss that? Yeah.
That's what it's always been.
But were you surprised as well, the level of evidence? I was.
Oh, 100%. Definitely.
Because again, I could have added another 30 slides to that.
Yeah. And I remember back in the day sitting in here talking about it, and we were talking about perspectives on mirror balls.
Yeah.
And the fact it was around the time of the perspective on mirror balls, we're also talking about ancient mysteries and the difference between mainstream theories and fringe theories.
Yeah.
They use the same evidence. They join the dots together in a different way.
That's right.
Because the evidence is the evidence. That's all we have.
That's right.
And it's how you join the dots
it's
to create the story, to create the paradigm.
Yeah.
But what got me with this one was the dots seemed closer together, and every new dot you introduced to it seemed to fit somewhere.
Yeah.
A lot of theories require you to exclude certain parts of evidence because they don't fit your paradigm.
That's right. You need to ignore tidbits here and there in order to stick with your narrative.
Whereas this one seems to be like the furry blanket. All the fucking shit you threw at it, it stuck.
That's right.
None of it rolled off and fell on the floor.
That's right.
It's like, fuck, everything just keeps sticking to
it. Just exactly, and it's not.
It's simplistically annoying.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Of course it is.
This dude's fucking onto something.
He is.
And
He is.
I think that's what made me bite, and I had to bring it over to you and be like, have a fucking chew on this tasty morsel, brother.
Well, when I finally got to it, I think I got 3/4 of the way through, and I made a remark about how Cassaro choked his way through and then I did the same thing. Interestingly, it hasn't happened since we got out of the knowledge. Just
strangely enough,
making an observation.
Yes. We'll have to go back and mark the time and what we were like the depth.
Oh, I'm going to have to. I'm going to
and then dig into that.
The version that you guys are going to get is not the version that was recorded. I'm going to have to do some editing And we might have some instrumental work to split some of the sections up. However,
Poor old Triff's fucking voice box.
oh man,
Old dry throat.
And what are we on?
Pine
What are we
cone
on?
throat.
Episode 148 or whatever it is. Has that ever happened?
I've never, in my memory, I can never remember you coughing up like that.
No. And I'm not. It's not like
and
I'm,
like you say, we've done podcasts sick,
yes,
like snot dripping out of our heads. You know,
yeah,
we'd test positive to corona back before the pandemic ever existed.
that's right. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So yeah, we've done it worse off and never had the attacks like that before.
No.
So it's just such a weird
coincidence.
coincidence, you know. And it's amazing.
Because this knowledge, look, I don't know if people are going to get it. How profound it is. I hope you do. I hope you. And look, if and I will say it in the intro, but I'll say it now too. If anyone wants the slideshow that I put together for this, email me, unlockingthecode9@gmail.com. It's yours, right? I'm happy to send what I put together for tonight's episode because I think...
Did you get any of the stuff off Cassaro's website?
Yeah, a lot of it is off Cassaro's website. Yeah.
Right, so that was richardcassaro.com, isn't it?
richardcassaro.com.
So you can see a lot of the stuff there as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, yeah.
I don't know what else to say apart from godself, man. It's the balance, it's the dark, it's the light, it's everything we've been talking about.
Mm.
And it's literally in front of our faces everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And to finish off thinking about the mistake that Christianity made.
Yeah, was actually in making the godself external. Whereas it's not. 99% of the answers you need are here, here, and here. And I just went, heart, chest, gut, right?
Yeah, you know what the answers are.
You know
They're
the
inside
answers
you.
are. They're inside you.
Everything's inside you.
Yeah.
Your happiness,
Yeah.
your answers, your solutions.
That's right.
They're all there.
We just choose not to.
Yeah.
Because we've been steered away from that.
We get do we choose not to? Sometimes. Are we told not to? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Are we steered away from? Are we wrongly wrongly told that the answer's not within ourselves?
Well, you're spot on, mate. Because I just thought you can't control a person who's their own god self.
That's exactly right.
Because what have we? Look, both of us, we both know that on our journey we've been on behind these mics, and personally, our give a fuck meter has gone way down since we've embraced who we are. You know what I mean? What we used to care about, we just don't, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't affect me. I am my god self. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, peace, love, and go fuck yourself, man. You know what I mean? It's totally cool. Yeah. However, you want to be a douchebag, then that's not my issue,
Well, and the douchebaggery is usually a sign of not understanding the god self.
That's right.
They're
acting out. They're acting out through themselves. It's nothing
exactly.
to do with you. Most
they're
of the
out
time.
of balance.
That's right.
They're favouring one side or the other.
Yeah, man.
And that's why they're acting out.
And you can't control someone who identifies themselves as their own god self.
Yeah, that's right. They're no longer.
The fear and control no longer works. That's why it had to be externalized.
They're no longer in contract with you. Mm-hmm. The God self has no name. That's why God's name can't be spoken.
That's right.
It's because the God self has no name, so you can't own it.
That's right.
You can't put it in capitals on a piece of paper.
And if all the esoteric things we've spoken about, I think we've both come to our own understanding that spirituality is a personal journey, man. We're all trying to reach the same place. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't necessarily matter how you get there.
Well, that's why it is the personal journey, because it's inside you.
Exactly. It's the God self, man.
That's right.
You will get there how you choose to get there.
That's right. We've all got the same dark and the light. But it's the cracks where the light shine through and that are different. Dependent upon your personal journey.
That's right. And where you are at and what your focus is. So I think to end, man, embrace the God self within you.
Do you want to do a warrior book? I just thought of that.
You
I was
do,
like,
I know
how
what does it have? Go on, mate. Go on, grab it.
Where is it?
Do the honours. Up in the up below the stones there. Choose whichever one you see. Choose your own adventure. Geez, I wonder what it's going to say. What it's going to say.
Excuse me. All right. So the first bit I looked at, Miyamoto Musashi.
Of course, it's me.
And the title has a duality written into it. Perception is strong and sight is weak. So there you go. There's two opposites.
Yeah.
Always believe in and follow your intuition. First line.
Godself.
Even when, we have the answers.
Yeah.
We just have to follow them.
That's right.
Even when it does not make sense to you. People are experts at hiding the truth and being deceptive. Many times you'll be unable to detect their deception with your physical senses, but your intuition and sense of honor will let you know inside that something just doesn't feel right. While you may not be able to pinpoint the issue, you will sense that something is not right.
Within your godself.
When you get this feeling, it is time to take a step back, reevaluate the situation.
Re-engage.
Recalibrate. So
Are
there
you
you go,
serious?
man. The Warrior Book came through once again.
The Warrior Book has spoken. Embrace your godself, guys. Thank you very much for your time, as always. Man, this was awesome.
It was.
And, yeah, look forward to the next one, dude. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good on you guys. We'll talk soon.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Bye.
Do you just want to go again?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go again.
All right. I know you been here before. No surprises settle the score. I know the darkness deep inside. Reckless rage, poison pride. I know the anger, I know the pain, and I know the fear we do not name. And the one who comes to find me when my time is through, I know you, I know you.